In this video, I'll be showing you all how to make custom door cards for your classic Saab 900. This is a modification or change you can do to really help make your interior more unique, or in my case, make your interior tied to your exterior. Let me show you what I mean by that. My 900 is malachite green. The paint, as you can see, is a little bit worse for wear, but this is a very light green gray color. And paired with that, we have our gray colored bumpers and our SPG kit. So if you own a 900 or if you've seen the inside of one before, you'll know that they come with color matched door cards from factory, which honestly, mine are both in fantastic shape. A lot of times these look pretty bad over time, which is why people will change them out. I'm changing them out more so just for a different look. We're going to be keeping these two, and I have two spare ones. Now, I spent a very, very long time trying to find the right fabric and pattern for this car, for this modification, and I think I finally found it. This is from a company called the Textile District. Not a sponsored video or anything, but this cost me about $85. If you hold this up to the green paint, whereas if the green paint was in the condition it should be, or the SPG kit down here, you can see just how well this matches. So I think wrapping these door cards in this plaid is going to just tie the interior and the exterior of the card together, and I've been wanting to do this mod for 2 years. So in order to do this, we need a few things. We of course need our fabric. We're going to need a cutting knife or just something, you know, to trim up the fabric. We need our spray adhesive, which I just got this off Amazon. Ideally, we also need a paint roller. We'll be using this to, once we lay the fabric down, smooth it out and make sure there's no, I guess, creases or anything like that on the fabric. And then of course we need our door cards. A lot of people reuse their old ones because they're in poor condition, but since mine are in good condition, I have these ones. So one of these needs to be stripped down, so you can see the factory fabric is held on by a bunch of little staples. So let's get started by removing the old fabric from this door card. I think I'll use a combination of a flathead. Honestly, I don't know if I'll need pliers. These staples are really shallow. They're already coming up with just a little bit of prying. It's very easy to damage these door cards due to the age of them and just the material they're made out of, so you don't want to be prying too hard when you do this. There are a couple miscellaneous staples that weren't attached to the fabric that I'm going to remove, and then we're going to wipe this down both sides, get it very clean, and we'll be ready to begin our wrapping process. I'm going to start by cutting this roughly to size. Now, I had a dilemma on which way I want to do this. I could either do it like this, which would be the most efficient use of material, and the plaid is vertical and horizontal, or I could do it like this at about a 45-degree angle and have the plaid be at a 45-degree angle. I keep going back and forth on which one I think will look better, but I think we're gonna go with a diagonal. So the way I have this set up is I'm leaving about 1.5 or 2 inches on either of these corners here, and I'm gonna make sure wherever I cut here, I leave about 1.5 or 2 inches as well. Now I'll cut up this way so that way we can overlay the next piece onto here. All right, there's our rough shape for this first one. Kind of lay that over top, just like so, to confirm that I did in fact cut it well enough, and looks like we are good to go. All right, there we go. I still have way more fabric than I need, but I think the best method now, and you can see this kind of stretches, so I want to be careful not to stretch it. So we need to spray both the board as well as the back of the fabric, just to make sure we have extra good adhesion. So the directions say to spray it and then wait 1 minute before applying it. So by the time I spray this and spray that, it'll basically have been a minute and we'll be good to apply it. All right, I am pretty happy with how that has turned out. Our next step is going to be, of course, wrapping our extra fabric around the edges. So again, we have a lot more than we need. So I think ideally what we'll do is probably have closer to this amount wrap over, like so. And then of course when we get to these corners here, we need to be cognizant of these metal clips that hold the panel in. So I'm going to further trim this down now that we have it laid. Real quick before I forget, one thing I noticed, if your material that you're using for this is very stretchy, you got to be very careful of, especially with a pattern like this, the lines will, if you stretch a certain area out, the lines get, you know, not straight anymore. So I was very wary of that. That's one thing that you'll have to be cognizant of as well if you're choosing a plaid material like me. And I'm just going over it with this to get out any maybe imperfections that are in there. But to be quite honest with you guys, for a first try, this went on pretty smoothly. So I'm not fully sure exactly how I want to do the application of this backside yet. I thought about using a kind of a layer of spray adhesive right here for like these top and bottom areas and the sides. But for this inner area, I just don't think that's gonna work. I cut away a little bit more than I probably should have here. And so what I think I'm gonna do, at least on this inside area to start, is just use a dab of super glue kind of every couple inches just to get that to adhere down. So again, I'm going to be careful not to try to stretch this out so it deforms the pattern on the front. I've messed around with this a bit and I've determined the best way to do it is just using the spray adhesive. The super glue is just soaks through the fabric here and it kind of is creating a wavy pattern here, whereas down here I use the spray adhesive and it's working way better. So I'm going to use spray adhesive for the remainder of this inside portion and all around out here as well. I cut at every portion, there's a crease, or I guess a curve, I should say. I cut a line in the fabric so that way it should hopefully fold over a lot more smoothly. For attempt number one, I am pretty happy with how this looks. There's a couple little imperfections in the particle board or whatever I guess it technically is called that has shown through just a little bit, like right there. But overall, I'd give myself about a 8.5, 9 out of 10 on this. I'm kind of going around, as you can see, there's a couple spots where these need to be touched up. So I'm doing that now before it fully sets and dries. So I'm going to clean that up and then do the second panel and then we'll catch back up with you all eventually. All right, both of them are complete. I'd say the second one turned out about the same as the first. One thing I importantly did with the second one is the one that had all the staples in it. So there's a lot of rough spots and high points along the front of this. So one thing I did is I took some 320 grit sandpaper and sanded the whole thing down smooth beforehand, which I think has really helped. Again, not that this one has a ton of spots, but does have like one spot right there, one spot right there that has some stuff on it. So I'm going to probably let this cure and dry overnight, and then tomorrow we can throw them in the car. It is the next morning. I had books on these overnight to help make sure it kind of stayed down. Not that I really thought that was necessary, but just as an added precaution. It does seem to be all stuck down and adhering very well. There is one small little spot on the other panel where it's not fully seated down, but I'm not really too worried about it. Again, I'm pretty happy with how these have turned out. So now it is time to throw them in the car. You can kind of see just how well this matches. I'm so happy with the color of this and how it turned out. It's a lot more noticeable in the sun how similar it is, but to install these, we need to remove our door handles and the old door card. Very easy. Let's get to it. To remove the old door card, there's one T20 bolt that holds this door handle cover on, and that just pulls out. And then this just slides down. So there's the two metal clips on the back here, one on either side, and those hook behind these metal clips in here. But again, you can see this is in such nice condition. I am going to definitely hold on to these. That is one of them done. I'm going to do the same thing on the passenger side now. Well, I can say that in a vacuum, meaning if you're just looking at only the interior, this definitely looks a little bit out of place. I mean, I guess technically it matches my dash cover up here. But when you back up and look at the car as a whole, you can very easily see how it all ties together. And wow, I just have to say I am so glad that I found a pattern that matches so well with the car as a whole. Now, I do have a ton of extra material. I don't have enough to do the headliner, for example. I also don't think I would want to do the headliner because I think that might just be too much. With that in mind, I don't think there's anything else I'd really do with the plaid. However, if you do have suggestions, I'd love to hear them down below in the comments. But you can see from here, it's just a little something to tie the exterior to the interior of the car, and I am very happy with how this turned out. I'm gonna take the car back home and get the car cover on it, as you saw in the intro, so thank you all for peer pressuring me into do that, because honestly it's much needed as we approach the summer. Just an extra layer of protection for this car to help keep it looking good, because honestly it's looking pretty good right now, minus the paint. At the time of making this video, I am still on the search for a new project. If you want to know what I'm talking about, check the video up here in the top corner. But that's all for today. I'll see you in the next one.